I mean, it depends. It's various. On the island, basically, you have groups which are, I don't know, UK or local, but it's not just about owners, it's about management as well, right? But many owners are local people. I mean, not all of them are bad, right? I can say that I met really good and decent people, but that's just rarity, especially in this kind of industry. So I think owners are mainly the local people or people from UK or around. Know what I mean? Or the bigger groups from somewhere else. But that's mainly the UK.
The bosses are not generally the Portuguese, the Romanians and the Polish. They're not generally the bosses.
Well,
in other words,
some of them are working higher positions, right?
Right.
Like in the manager.
Right.
Some of them are even general managers. And so it really depends. Like, you can find other cultures and other people who are on these positions. But as I said, you have three groups of people who are constantly clashing in between. And if you put them in one workplace, you will have disaster.
Right.
So it basically making the working environment really toxic, especially kitchens. Now imagine, combine the pressure, combine the racism, combine the abuse, intimidation, and all of that, and what you get? You get broken mind. That's
something I want to
ask. Right?
I've never worked in a kitchen. Now, if they're all Portuguese or they're all Romanian, they can all speak to each other in their own language. If you have a kitchen...
You will feel it. Definitely you will feel it, because if there is a... I mean, I can't really be ignorant and say that all of them are bad, right? But as you said, if there is a group of people from one faction, and there is just one person under them, he's going to be really abused. Like that's like normal thing in Jersey. Like he's going to be, but that happens even if you have a mixed group of people, right? So that's even worse. You know what I mean? But all depends on the place and people you're working with.
Because there's a big discussion about racism at the moment. Where does it come from? Where does this... Because we're all different. We call ourselves races. We're all the same race. We're all the human race. But if you're Romanian...
I know, I understand.
But why? Where does it come from?
It's hard to say. I mean, Polish people like they're really proud of themselves. I mean, they're not bad people. Most of them I know. They mean like really good, because I'm actually speaking Polish because my girlfriend is Polish.
All right.
But and they are much more similar culture to me, because food and everything and music and all of that. But that doesn't matter. That hate comes, well, basically we are kind of near. Romanians are Polish and Slovakians and all of that. All of us are near. And they're just basically clashing. I don't even know why, to be honest. But in Jersey generally, they're doing this. They're basically fighting against each other. But what I want to speak is that this is just the people who are working there, right? This is just a clash of interest.
Right.
So some of them are going good, well, some of them are not. So that just depends on the place and how people are, right? But that's not the main thing. The main thing is, what I would like to speak is about the superior people, right?
Right.
So somebody's becoming a manager, somebody's an owner, and I'm saying about how people are basically treated by them. That's the problem. If you have toxic environment, okay, that's in many kitchens this will happen, because that's hospitality, unfortunately. A lot of pressure and heat makes this thing toxic, right? That's a chef's life, basically. But what's my main thing is, what I want to speak about is that people are defenseless there, and they're really treated like they are nothing. Some of them are really treated like nothing. Like, I will start from first thing, okay? I'm going to say from my personal experience how I felt. Basically, I don't belong in any of this culture, because as a Slovakian, maybe there is like 20 people on the island who are from my country, right? You understand what I mean? So I was observing basically what's happening in Jersey and what's happening in these communities, and I was actually feeling it as well. So I will start from the beginning. So imagine the person who saw Jersey and he got the job opportunity in Jersey, right? So he's dragged there basically. He will earn good money. He will have much bigger standard that he has in his country. He will have a beautiful life. You know what I mean? He will be protected. Everything beautiful, perfect from outside. So now you come to the Jersey, and you have places which have or providing the accommodation, but it's up to you if you want to find yourself accommodation, your own, or you want to live in the staff accommodation. So you have that choice. But now what's happened? You start to work in this environment, which you will really fast realize that it's really toxic, and you will start to feel that pressure that you are just below everybody else. And trust me, you will feel it like in first week of work. You know what I mean? So now you will feel kind of anxious about everything, and things will basically start looking not so good as they told you that they will look. As you live in the staff accommodation, so that's the company's accommodation, and you work for that, people basically will feel like you're owned because they are providing you everything, but they don't realize that you're actually paying for everything. You're paying for accommodation, you're paying for your food, you're paying for that, yeah?
How much generally, what do they charge for accommodation? What's the usual sort of amount of your wage? How much of it your wage?
That depends.
Does it?
That depends, but to be honest with you, to survive in Jersey, in this industry, on one wage only, it's almost impossible. So it depends. You get a small room. I'm talking about really small room without any shower, without any toilet. Basically, you need to share everything. You basically pay from 600, 700 pounds, and that's just like nothing. Right. So that's the price. So now imagine weekly you earn maybe 400 pounds, right? Depends how many hours you have, on what wages you are, but still, Jersey is an expensive place, right? It is expensive. Many local people actually with the better jobs are complaining already that they want to leave the UK because Jersey is becoming... I know, I was there and I could see the prices and everything, and it's really expensive. So now, if you want to find yourself accommodation, you will pay even much more than that. And now imagine you are alone, right? You don't have a partner, you don't have anybody, and you want to survive on your wages. It is really hard. It is really, really hard. Now, I'm going to talk about something else. Okay, you have two choices, or basically the owner who you're working for will give you two choices. First of all, and that happens to me many times to me, that almost everybody are on hourly wage in Jersey, right? So it happened to me, and it happened to many people, that these owners and managers who are doing the rotas for everybody else, they are putting you on such a small amount of hours per week that you are barely surviving, and they're putting everybody else in front, like people who've been working there for much longer, their friends, their family, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be on the much better wages, and they're going to do much more hours, right? And you won't get anything, and you will barely survive 1 week because you need to pay accommodation, you need to pay that, and basically surviving like a slave. Just go from 1 week to another week. Then there you have a second choice. You can work too much hours because they have an understaffed kitchen or restaurant, and you need to cover shift for 2 people because they can't find the staff. So you're going to work 80, 90 hours per week. You can survive, but you don't have any life.
In these jobs, when you go, you're supposed to
you know what I mean?
Jersey law, you're supposed to have a contract. When you go to work for an employer, they're supposed to give you a contract, they sign it, and you sign it. Is that what happens? Do you get a contract?
Yes, but contracts doesn't really determine how much you're going to work. No. That's why many people are choosing the 0-hour contract, because it's flexible for them, not for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
So if you're on 0-hour contract, they can't promise you how much hours you're going to do weekly. So that's why almost nobody is giving the 40 hours contract, because sometimes it will happen he won't have hours for you because he has the hours for somebody else. So he's going to give you like 20, 30 hours max.
What did you have? Do you have a full contract, or did you have a 0 hours contract, or did you have a...
Me?
Yeah.
To be honest, in Jersey, I think I didn't have 40 hours contract with anybody I worked with. I was working many part-times. Basically, I consider myself as a hard-working person. All my stay, I was doing 2 jobs.
All right.
To survive, to have decent life, right? But I sacrificed a lot of that, a lot of my time and strength and energy to work two jobs. So 40 hours contract in Jersey is a privilege that many people can't have, unfortunately.
Do you think the employers, do you think the bosses try to discourage local people from taking these jobs? Is that a policy, or is that just one of the problems about Jersey? Is that just a problem?
That's an interesting question. I don't want to say that local people are lazy, but to be honest, not many local people wants to get their hands dirty in those places. Right. I saw local people working in hospitality, right? I can't say anything, but really to do chefing, they have why would you, you don't need 5 years residency, you have everything. You can find yourself a decent job. You can do that, basically. If I have 5 years residency, I don't work in the kitchen, to be honest. Basically, they have a privilege to work in the much better places.
Right.
So many of them are deciding not to work in hospitality, right? Why? Why would they? And this is the problem, that people who arrive on the island and they're skilled in something else, they just won't get any other job because
just take a job.
Residency thing.
Take a job. You have to take what you can get. Take what you can get. One of the interesting.
You have to take what you have because
exactly. One of the things is in Guernsey, and I'm just interested that you've been to Guernsey. They used to have a system there where you could work 9 months only, then you had to leave and come back. Now they're going to introduce something like that for Jersey. They're going to have a work permit system where people like you will arrive. And you will only be allowed to work 9 months or so, and then you will have to leave and come back. Now, for somebody like that, for somebody like you, is that realistic? Can you afford to do that? Can you afford to come for 9 months and move away and then come back?
Well, basically, to be honest, I don't think so. It's not working.
No.
As I said, if you work in hospitality, you won't really get that high. You will spend almost all of your money that you will earn if you have just one job.
Right.
And as I said, it depends how much hours you work.
Right.
And on how many wages you are. But much of that money won't save, but you will leave it on the island, because it's hard to save if you have one job, if you pay yourself accommodation, if you want to afford yourself something like.
Right.
Say go for a meal, which is also expensive. You want to take your girl, or you go for a drink, or you know what I mean.
How much?
That money really
how much approximately does it cost to come from Slovakia to Jersey? How much does that cost you? Because obviously, if somebody arrives,
to be honest, it's not expensive to come. It's expensive to live. Like if I buy the tickets, I can get to Jersey for 100 euros,
right.
Or let's say 90 pounds. Really? It can cost me to get from Slovakia to Jersey.
Really?
Because flights are not so expensive at the moment. That's the first thing. Second thing is if you go to Jersey, many people already have the promised job and accommodation sorted, which is not a bad thing, right? So you don't have to spend all of your money just to settle down there. So this is a positive thing, that something is awaiting you over there, because if you go to another country, then you need to settle yourself down. You need to pay advance rent, blah, blah, all of those things. So this is a positive thing, that when you come to Jersey, you already have a job, and you already have accommodation, and you pay weekly. So it's not so hard to come to Jersey. But to be honest, it's hard to stay there. Yeah, that's the reason.
Obviously people come...
After a few months, you realize it's hard to save.
People come here, they want to learn the English language, they want to improve themselves, do it for 1 year, it's not too bad. But after that, when you want to have a proper life, you want to have a family, you've got a girlfriend, Polish girlfriend, is she still here in Jersey, or has she gone back to Poland? What's happened to her?
Well, she's kind of in Jersey at the moment, but she's coming back when they open up. Yeah.
Right. So if you want to settle down and have a family here, so you have to wait 5 years before you can get a proper job.
Yes.
And then you have to wait 10 years before you can get proper living accommodation to get your housing quals.
Exactly.
In your experience, how many people stay that long time? Do you meet many people, whatever nationalities? Obviously, there's not many people from Slovakia, but people generally, they're working in the kitchens. Do they say, well, I'm going to do a year, 2 years, and then going away somewhere else? Is that what they say?
To be honest, the stories I heard around was basically just depression and complaints, because many of those people been there for a few months and they've been so depressed because they always work hard.
Right.
They don't have days off. They're always understaffed. Or there's always a problem going around. And then as I said, people doing it two ways. One way is not having a life at all. I mean, you save some money, of course, but you are at work day and night, right? The second choice is you can just do yourself an ordinary one job, do your 40 hours, 50 hours, but you won't get almost anything out of it. Right?
Well, you have to entertain yourself.
I mean, I can't complain. I can't complain from my personal experience. As I said, I'm a hardworking person. And when I was in Jersey, I was doing two jobs. Right. I was really combining my time, so I was almost... But then I really fastly realized, how can I have such a life when I want to earn decent wages? Exactly. I want to live decent life, and I'm waking up at 7:30 a.m. and I'm coming back home to my girlfriend at 9:10 p.m., right? And if I want to survive and have a decent wages, then I have to do it for 6-7 days a week.
Right.
And that's not life.
Well, as I say, you might do it for 1 year.
I always had the money in my pocket, but I didn't have life. That's when it comes to sacrifice something.
In your experience, when you stopped working for somebody, did they sack you or did you leave? How does it come about that you leave a job?
This is actually a good question, and I'm going to answer. I'm going to tell you one truth. Now, when you work in the place like that, you are never right. You can be charged, you can be sacked, they can do anything what they want with you. Now, I had a case, I will admit, I had a few places when I was working, and actually I've been sacked, right? And I know that wasn't right, but I have been, and a few places I left because it was so toxic that I just couldn't stay there. So I switched a few jobs. My only goal was to be happy at my workplace, do my job, go home and not have a stress in my head. But kitchen is kitchen, so it's everywhere in the world. But the problem is, basically, how can I say that? I don't know how to explain this. Okay. They don't need you anymore, right? They just don't want you anymore in the restaurant. Let's say they have lesser wages, they don't have so much people, and what will happen now? They will come to you, they will start to scream and shout at you, they will start convicting you, like they will start saying that you've done something that you haven't done, you're like that, you are, I don't know what, and just go away. So you take your stuff and you just go away, you just don't know what happened. You understand what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's happening actually almost everywhere in Jersey. This is normal thing. People are sweared at, basically. You're sacked, you're waiting for your payment, you're just crazy. And I can say this, that some of them are really big psychopaths. Like, you have some sick people in Jersey, especially in this industry. I'm not saying this is just in Jersey, but in Jersey, the industry is toxic. Like, I never experienced this in my life somewhere else. I was working in some busy places, but Jersey was like top notch in this. Like, I don't know why, but it was crazy. And always, when I was working in Jersey, I was always working for two people because the kitchen's been understaffed.
Right.
People been living on daily.
When you are working, when you are working in these places, does anybody come round to inspect them, to see what's going on, to look at staff, not just the state of the kitchen, whether it's clean or not, but do they ever ask the staff what it's like working there? Anybody do that?
To be honest, I don't think so. Some of the owners who are owning the places are kind. I mean, I was working, my latest job in the kitchen actually was decent. Really nice. I mean, it was my part-time, right? It was busy, but the owner I worked for and the team I was working was really good. That place, and the head chef was Polish and he's a good friend of mine. Right. And I can say that place was the best kitchen I ever worked for. And I was happy. I was busy. I was without energy. It was summer. We've been like really flying around the kitchen, but it was a good team and good people. So that place, like, I was working 10 places, and from those 10 places, I just found one that was actually decent for me. But I was a part-timer for season, and that was the deal. that after the season I'm leaving because they will need to reduce the staff. But they've been honest and transparent for me from the beginning. But other places, I really didn't saw any communication between managers and everybody. You know what I mean? Or maybe they did it, but it was really fake.
Was there any communication? Was there any communication with a trades union? Did they ever come round to see whether you'd like to join the trade union so you could join together? Does that ever happen? Nobody?
Not really, to be honest. Nobody was really interested. Like it was, I mean, many people probably would like to do it, but the problem is that there is an intimidation game going on.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about, that many people are scared to talk about this, and many people just are afraid and they don't want to go to court because they're scared. Many stories, they hear many stories from our local people. Hey, just don't go to court, be crazy, because if you go to court, you will pay 2,000 quid for the lawyer and you won't win. This is the worst thing I ever heard, and I didn't believe in this, but many people told me that if you're not local, you have really slight chance to win.
Yes.
So many people just actually don't want to go to court because they already know that they will lose their case, even if they are right.
Well, of course, the difficulty, the advantage that local people have is generally, if you're a local family, if you lose your job, for example, you can go and stay with somebody, friend or family. If you're from somewhere overseas, you don't have those connections, so you have to hang on to your job. These are the sorts of the intimidation. You keep a job, you stay in a job because you can't afford to leave the job, basically. That local people have an advantage in that regard. Is that something that people talk about? Do they discuss those things?
Well, it is true. Basically, if you have a family in Jersey, they've been living there for their whole life, let's say. They have friends, they have family, they know each other, they know the lawyers, they know everybody. And basically, they will get through this much easier than some person who came and who is on the island for 4 months. And what this person is going to do, he can be abused, he can be racially abused, he can be physically attacked, he can be everything. And what's going to happen? He's going to report it. Maybe he will have a courage to actually say, "Hey, enough, I'm going to the court." And even police won't be so helpful, to be honest.
Really? So
they won't be. He will come. He will maybe do your report. You will tell what's happening, and they will send you to 5 people, and then you will basically just lose your will to actually go to it. And then they will tell you the price. Hey, you need to hire yourself a lawyer. There is not many.
Whilst you were here in Jersey, did any employer, because there's an employers association and they keep on about training staff. So you've got good staff and you keep them. Did anybody ever offer you any training for specialist skills so that you could?
Nobody specialized me anything.
No, nothing.
I had to learn everything. I had people who've been basically my head chefs was all. If the head chef was good, you're learning from him, and that's all. Okay. In kitchen, it works most of the time like this. You work for the head chef who is skilled in his profession, and then you basically watch and learn. And it's like a small army, right? But you have people who basically don't know anything, and I was working with such a people, and they've been playing. They are Gordon Ramsay of this culinary world in Jersey, but they didn't even know how to chop potato, and they will still abuse you.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Gordon Ramsay because he's got this TV program, in case people don't know, and that's what he is. He's always abusive to the staff, isn't he? That's his sort of image.
Yes, actually, yeah, and you have actually a lot of chefs. Unfortunately, it's actually a joke. It's ridiculous.
Is it?
That this thing has propagated. The abuse in the kitchen, which shouldn't be in the normal, ordinary kitchen, because he's on the level which nobody going to reach in Jersey or everybody else in the world, right? But this abuse is happening like in one or two or 3 Michelin stars, which is top notch. It's like a special force of the culinary world. But then you have the head chefs who basically don't know how to do their job. So they have to find something to compensate themselves. So they think their solution is to play the Gordon Ramsay style, abuse their staff, scream and shout at them, bring them the PTSD, depression and anxiety, and that will make him a better chef. And I was always against it because I was always observing what's happening around, you know. And sometimes I told myself, this is ridiculous. And then I actually gave up on Jersey. I said to myself, I'm not going to work like a slave 7 days per week so I can have a decent wage, take my girlfriend outside to buy her dinner.
Well,
I mean, first of all, you know what I mean? You're working in toxic environment. That's the worst thing. The chef is not an artist. We are there to earn money. We are there to cook food, to cook the good food. Of course, you need to bring your standards up, but it's a job like every other job in the world.
Just a little to compare things.
Sorry?
In Slovakia, who's doing the cooking in restaurants in Slovakia? Do you have the same problem there with people from different countries, or do Slovakians?
No, I was working in Croatia. I was working in Slovakia. I was working in Czech Republic, Guernsey, Jersey, London.
Right.
I was chefing in some places, but I never met such a hate and abuse and all of that.
That's
somewhere else. I was working in tough kitchens as well, but I never felt like that in my life.
Right.
Kitchen is hard.
Worse than Guernsey. Worse than Guernsey. No, I mean Guernsey. You say Guernsey is different. It's worse in Jersey than Guernsey.
But Guernsey is like even 40 years behind Jersey. I don't even want to talk about Guernsey because Guernsey was absolute disaster. These guys are just failing in this thing like completely.
Isn't it sad?
Completely. Like Guernsey as an island is complete disaster. Like, I was working. Actually, I received it. It was the last Christmas. I left Jersey and I had a call from Guernsey to do the work in one of the places there. Basically, they had a peak time. It was a Christmas, so they have been really busy. Of course, understaffed. No chefs wants to work there. So she asked me, the head chef asked me, she was a woman, that if I want to come and help her, the Latvian woman. She said, right, why not? So I took myself, I went to Guernsey. I stayed there for 3 months. Those 3 months were probably one of my worst experiences I ever had in the kitchen. And I almost gave up on hospitality industry because of that place, because it was so toxic. They've been paying us wages that have been completely ridiculous. Can you imagine that I earn more money now in my job that I have now in Slovakia, that I had in Guernsey?
It's dreadful.
That's ridiculous. Here, the things are much less expensive, like Jersey or Guernsey, like 3 times cheaper.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop this because this is getting too long. What I will do, I will take this recording and I will edit it into trying to make it to a reasonable length of time, because people won't watch anything that's too long. And if necessary, hopefully we can come back and maybe pick up some points with you at another time. But first of all, I want to edit this, what I've taken. It's very interesting. Before we go, is there anything special you want to say? Anything special to say as final thought?
Well, yeah, I just want to say that Jersey should be aware that they are basically doing a bad thing, and the karma is like, it will return back. I mean, they are losing a great people. That's first of all, they're losing a great, hardworking people, and they should really start appreciating people more who are earning money to Jersey government. We are the people who are holding that industry. We are the cogs in the big machine. And I think people should be taken care of. And Jersey is a nice place, but it's just many things are basically bad there. That's all I want to say.
Well, it's been interesting, not pleasant talking to you. It's very sad to hear all this. It's very sad, because obviously it would be very difficult.
Well, unfortunately, that's true. That's a harsh reality of ordinary working person in Jersey.
Yeah.
There is no other way around, basically. If you can work 7 days per week and then you can have a decent life or survive from one payment to another. And that's all you can do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
If necessary, we'll come back to you. Thanks so much indeed. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Okay, no worries. It was nice to talk with you. Bye.
And you.
Bye-bye.